Welcome to the RSI Trade of the Day. My name is Benjamin Poole, head trader here at Verified Investing. Thank you guys so much for tuning in here live at 8:45 in the morning. Thank you guys continually for the comments that are continuing to come in. So I did have one comment that referenced trend lines, and he said, hey, I guess if I can draw trend lines, I can be a professional. And absolutely, you can. And let me go ahead and get into why trend lines are so paramount when I'm giving my, trade of the day and or analysis, right? So have you ever been in a trade that you've been stuck in? You got in and you were like heard on Reddit, like, hey, go ahead and get into Robinhood. And then all of a sudden it starts to surge and you get in. And then all of a sudden that's the top. Big gap down after you got in. And so you're buying. And then all of a sudden you're underwater. You get back up into a specific level. You're like, oh my gosh, I was just out of the money because I was super heavy in this. So when I get back up to that, what is now a trend line, a resistance level, you're going to dump your shares just to get to break even. It happens all the time. That's why they're so crucial to draw trend lines. And I'm going to go ahead and go into our trade of the day, actually, because CRDO was a great example of what that is. So let's go ahead and go into RSI recap. So here is the chart of the CRDO. Let me go ahead and share my screen with you guys. Show you what I was seeing on Friday. So you had this big up move, and I was mentioning, okay, so based on the fact that we had this pretty good sizable sideways candles throughout the rest of the day, basically starting from 9 a.m., we should expect a pop. And so if you notice where my resistance levels were, was it a gap fill? So this is kind of the example, right? So let's say that you got in on this day. You were like, okay, I'm euphoric. I got in at a discounted price on CRDO. And then all of a sudden the next day it opens up lower and then crashes. Well, when price action gets back up into this trend line, then what's going to happen is you're likely to sell off. Although it didn't get up to this gap fill, what it did was it got all the way back up to this red bar candle where a lot of people are stuck. All these buyers are stuck in here. And so once it hits this level, you get a pretty sizable pullback. So it got a 2% move, even though the rest of the market was heading higher. So trend lines are what's crucial for me to at least understand where the psychology is, where the fear or greed is in the particular stock, because that's what it is. Every candle tells you a story of pain and suffering or euphoria that had once been captured, but then it diminished. So yes, trend lines are what we use, and they are super powerful. If you guys learn trend lines, you learn the psychology of what is inside of a candlestick, then you can understand the markets, you can understand the trend lines, and yes, you can be a professional too. Okay, so CRDO did again head up back to this level. It never got up to our entry price at $118.74, but then get a pullback. Now, if you look at CRDO, it did after it got to this $116.29, it did get a nice pullback, and then it's kind of basically chopped sideways the rest of the day as far as the price action and the relative strength index. So I don't have any other levels other than 118.74 for a potential pullback. And I don't have any support levels to go long on CRDO. I did mention the other day that Wayfair was also another one that had a lot of euphoria going into it. And then look at what happened. Now it's down 8% on the day. Wayfair, I still think, has another downside to go, could get to this upsloping trend line. If it breaks here, then you're likely to go down to $33.72. Although it would take a long time for Wayfair to get down there. But if the economy starts to slow down and a break of this upsloping trend line, starting to get some negative RSI divergence, you could head down to the mid-level. If we break there, could head down to the 30, and that could take us down to 33.72. Now, if we start putting into some consolidation, we get down to the 7 or the 30 before we get down to this 33.72, then it is likely to bounce. And then this gap fill at $53.41 would probably be the first area of a bounce. Okay, so Solar Edge, the solar stocks were kind of ripping yesterday. So I was hoping to get into this for our trade of the day today. Look at this relative strength action. It did have a nice big up move. Look at the price action. It continued to melt up. The relative strength index stayed above the 70. We did dip below the 30 right here momentarily, but the price action was only about a 1.5% drop on Solar Edge, and then it continued to float higher, and so did the relative strength index. So if you are interested in shorting something like this, now that it's gotten above this high pivot at $33.30, it could go up to this gap fill and likely get a pullback. Let's go ahead and draw a trend line right here at 37.07. This is going to be your major resistance that if Solar Edge can jump up into 37.07, you are likely to get a pretty significant pullback of 3 to 5% on that. All right, Zim was another one that was pretty crazy on the daily time frame. Look at this. Had this big price action. This was late day surge as well. But look at from the beginning of the day, you had this good relative strength index. It jumped up to 96, pulled back a little bit on the relative strength index. But as you can see, the price action just continued to stay higher and higher and higher. And then it actually got back above the 70 and actually above 85, and then failed to get below 30. So for me, this is a bullish sign for Zoom. That's ZM. So then we got to do is what we got to do is switch to the daily time frame and look at this. You got this huge gap fill at $84.62, where price action is likely to get back down to. And then if it doesn't get back there, if it doesn't get a pullback there, 85.07 is where your next level of resistance is at. Okay, so these are just basic trend lines. You got to understand that people were bullish here, got this big pop. They didn't take profits. And now as price action started going down, they think, oh my gosh, I'm underwater again. The price isn't reacting the way I thought. I thought we were going to go to, back to towards the highs, and then we got a pullback. And so these people are in pain. When you get back up to that trend line, then you're likely to pull back from that level. Okay. So this is just what I'm going off of. It's not how I feel or I think. I'm just noting what the psychology inside of this chart is looking like. Our RH right here. RH is another one that stayed really positive throughout the whole day. Got this big surge, but look at what happened. You got this big drop today in RH. Again, another one that I was hoping to get into, but look at this drop on RH. You see these, I see these all the time where you get these big moves and then these drop-offs towards the next day. Just because price action can no longer hold it up. No, they can no longer hold it above the 70, keep it above the 30, and then all of a sudden you get this big sell-off. So that's unfortunately, again, another one that's off the table. ALK, though, if you go to the daily time frame, similar price action. Look at this. Good move up on the relative strength index. You got above the 70, and if to up above 80, stayed there. Look at this price action. It couldn't even get below the 40 for most of the day. And then look at price action. It stayed really, really, really strong. Did dip below the 30, but again, not a lot of price movement in this. So 35 cents. Now look at this pop on ALK. So your next level of resistance is going to be right here at this gap fill, but it's only up a little bit. And so this for me wouldn't be enough resistance. I would wait until it gets up to $65 for a pullback in ALK. All right, so Rivian is another strong stock that I was noticing on Friday. Although it did dip below the 30 on the relative strength index, it didn't dip very long and then got a nice pop. But the price action, again, wasn't significant, 19.20 cents, 1.5% drop. So I do anticipate a move higher on Rivian. And so what you got to do is say, all right, well, now that this has been up for as long as it has, where is it at in the charts? It's still at the lower end of the charts. And so it could have another surge to the upside. So I would say that, 1403 would be the first level of real major resistance. Unless it starts chopping around here. If it chops right below this major resistance, a lot of these people who are in pain are probably likely to get out, which means that all the sellers would go out. And then you could go higher. $16.45 would be the next level of resistance after that. Okay, so let's go ahead. I know that's a lot of information. So if you guys, and I try to talk fast because I need to jam pack as much as I can in here. At least that's what I feel like. Anyway, if you guys need to slow that down, pick out those levels, that's fine. But now what we're going to do is we're going to go into the RSI trade of the day. All right, here we go. Zoom is the trade of the day. So if price action gets up to $84.62 on Zoom, this is my shortable level. This is the trade of the day. Based on the fact that you had this huge move up 15%, this would be almost a 20% move to the upside. I would look for a 2 to 5% pullback. I know it's a significant range, 2 to 5, but if we start heading lower on Zoom, you could actually get a little bit more than that. But again, my trade of the day is shorting Zoom, $84.62. And what I would do is put a stop out at any close on a 15-minute closing basis above 85.07. All right, so let's see if this works out. I hope it gets up into those levels and then gets a pullback so that way I can continue to demonstrate the power of the relative strength index and give you guys something that nobody else is talking about. So that's what I have for you guys. Please stay tuned for Gareth Soloway. He's going to be live in the game plan in less than 5 minutes. And if you guys like what you guys are seeing, please like, subscribe, follow, ring that bell, and get notified every morning at 8:45 when the market is open. I will be live for you guys, and we'll see you guys next time in the charts. You guys have a great day.
Hey guys, Lawton here with Verified Investing, and today I'm here to talk about Kinesis.money, our sponsor. Thank you to Kinesis for sponsoring us. So Kinesis has this awesome thing called yields, in which you can literally earn gold by just performing different activities on their website and their platform. So the first way that you can earn on Kinesis.money is through their holders yield. So basically what that is if you buy some KAG or KAU from them, which is basically equivalent to gold or silver, they're one-to-one crypto equivalent of gold and silver, you're able to collect money from them, right? A percentage of all of the fees that Kinesis takes over transactions, over buying KAU, KAG, or anything else is distributed to people that hold on to KAG and KAU. So super cool. Now the velocity spending is also really cool. So if you spend KAU or KAG, you're actually going to get a percentage of all the fees. Again, this is of all the fees that Kinesis takes relative to how much you use Kinesis. So this is things from going to the grocery store and buying things on your Kinesis card. This are things like buying KAG, KAU, sending it to someone else. And finally, it's the same thing as trading on their platform, right? If you do any of those things, you qualify for this velocity yield. The next awesome way that you can earn with Kinesis is through the referrers yield. So if you refer any friends, family, you'll get a percentage of all of their transactions in perpetuity, which is super cool. They also have a partner for a program for partners and mentors. But what I really want to focus on is this KBT, the most exciting part of Kinesis for me. 20% of all of the shares of all the transaction fees that happen on Kinesis are going to be distributed to holders of the KVT crypto token. There's a limited amount of crypto supply, but that's a really cool way to actually own part of Kinesis. You can get in on the ground level and just hold those tokens and collect a nice return. Thank you so much to Kinesis for sponsoring this video, and go check out their website at Kinesis.money.